Every morning at 8 a.m., he started the same route. Eugene Patterson had been walking Millfield's Oak Street neighborhood for 25 years. Every house, every door, every family was familiar now. The quiet, reliable mailman who never ran late, never complained, never caused trouble. Neighbors trusted him with their packages, their letters, their lives. But what they didn't know was that those calm hands had once defused bombs for the Seattle Police Department. And today, when a suspicious package landed in his mailbag, 30 years of bomb squad training would come flooding back to save an entire neighborhood from disaster. Welcome to Echo Stories. Before we begin this incredible story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, and if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Millfield, Ohio, population 8,500, the kind of small Midwest town where everyone knew everyone. Oak Street was the heart of the residential district, lined with modest two-story homes, white picket fences, and mailboxes that Eugene Patterson had been visiting for a quarter century. Eugene Patterson, 67 years old, had been a mail carrier for the United States Postal Service since 1998. Before that, well, nobody really asked, and Gene never volunteered information. Former police officer was all he'd say if pressed. The gray-haired man with wire-rimmed glasses and a permanent slight limp seemed perfectly suited to the quiet life of rural mail delivery. His route covered 47 homes on Oak Street and the surrounding blocks. He knew Mrs. Henderson at 342 always got her arthritis medication on Tuesdays. He knew the Johnson family at 356 was expecting their youngest son home from college. He knew Mr. Garcia at 371 collected vintage postcards and always smiled when international mail arrived. This was Gene's life now. Predictable, peaceful, safe. After what he'd seen in his previous career, safe was exactly what he wanted. Tuesday morning, October 15th. Gene loaded his mail truck at the Millfield post office at 7:45 a.m., same as always. His supervisor, Janet Walsh, barely looked up from her coffee. "Morning, Gene. Light day today." "Morning, Janet. That's fine by me." Gene had always been reliable. Never sick, never late, never any complaints from residents. The perfect employee who just wanted to do his job and go home. His first stop was always Mrs. Henderson at 342 Oak Street. She'd be waiting by her window, would wave when she saw him coming. Today was no different. "Good morning, Mrs. Henderson," Gene called out as he placed her mail in the box. "Morning, Gene. Beautiful day, isn't it?" "Sure is, ma'am. Take care now." Next was the Patterson house, no relation despite the name, then the Kowalskis, then the Martinezes. Each stop was routine, familiar, comforting in its predictability. Until he reached 359 Oak Street, the package was addressed to David Chen at 359 Oak Street. Gene had delivered to the Chen family for years. Nice people, kept to themselves. David worked at the local bank. But something about this package felt wrong. First, there was the weight. It was heavier than it should be for its size, about the dimensions of a shoebox, but feeling like it contained metal components. Second, there was no return address, just David Chen's name and address in block letters that looked off. Too careful, too deliberate. Third, and most unsettling, was the faint ticking sound. Gene's blood went cold. His hands, which had been steady for 25 years of mail delivery, began to tremble slightly. Because 30 years ago in Seattle, he'd heard that exact sound before. Seattle Police Department, Bomb Squad Unit, 1985 to 1995. Sergeant Eugene Patterson had been one of the best. Improvised explosive devices, mail bombs, pipe bombs, he'd seen them all. The Unabomber case had just made national headlines, and every suspicious package was treated as a potential threat. Gene had defused 47 explosive devices during his career. He'd lost count of the false alarms, but he'd never forgotten the sound, that soft mechanical ticking that meant someone was about to die. Standing on Oak Street in peaceful Millfield, Ohio, holding a package that shouldn't exist, Gene felt 30 years of carefully buried memories come flooding back. Gene's first instinct was to drop the package and run. His second was to call the police. His third, and the one that won, was to trust his training. He carefully set the package on the ground and examined it more closely. The ticking was definitely there, Faint, but consistent. Every 2 seconds. Tick, tick, tick. The postmark was from Cleveland, mailed 3 days ago. But Jean knew the Chen family well enough to know they didn't have enemies. David was a quiet bank teller. His wife, Sarah, taught elementary school. Their kids were in high school. This wasn't personal, which meant it was random, which meant there could be others. Jean looked down the street at the houses he hadn't visited yet. The Kowalski house where retired cop Bill lived with his wife. The Henderson house where an 84-year-old woman lived alone. The Martinez house with 3 young children. If there was one mail bomb, there could be more. Jean did what any good bomb tech would do. He started looking for patterns. He returned to his mail truck and went through the rest of his delivery load, package by package. Another one. Same handwriting, same return address, addressed to William Kowalski at 362 Oak Street. Same weight, same dimensions, same soft ticking, and another. Maria Martinez at 368 Oak Street, and another. Florence Henderson at 342 Oak Street. 4 packages, 4 families. Someone was targeting his entire route. Jean's military training kicked in completely now. This wasn't about mail delivery anymore. This was about saving lives. Jean pulled out his cell phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? This is Eugene Patterson, mail carrier for Oak Street in Millfield. I need to speak to someone in charge immediately. We have multiple suspected explosive devices. Sir, did you say explosive devices? Yes. I'm former Seattle PD bomb squad. I know what I'm dealing with. We need evacuation, and we need it now. The dispatcher's tone changed immediately. Stay on the line, sir. I'm connecting you to our incident commander. While he waited, Jean made another decision. He couldn't wait for the bomb squad to arrive from Columbus. That would take at least 45 minutes. By then, if these devices were on timers, people could be dead. He was going to have to do this himself. Jean started with the houses that had received packages. He knocked on doors, spoke calmly but urgently. Mrs. Henderson, I need you to leave your house right now. Don't ask questions. Just grab your purse and walk to the community center. There's been a gas leak reported in the area. It was a lie, but it was a lie that would save her life. House by house, family by family, Jean evacuated everyone within a 3-block radius. The Chens, the Kowalskis, the Martinez family with their 3 children, elderly Mrs. Henderson, all of them looking confused but trusting the mailman they'd known for 25 years. Jean, what's really going on? Bill Kowalski asked. As a retired police officer, he could sense something more serious than a gas leak. Bill, I need you to help me keep everyone calm and away from the houses. Can you do that for me? Bill studied Jean's face and saw something there he hadn't noticed in 25 years of casual conversation. Authority, command presence, the look of someone who'd been in charge during life and death situations. You got it, Jean. By the time the Columbus bomb squad arrived, Jean had already identified and isolated all 4 devices. He'd used techniques he hadn't employed in 3 decades, approaching each package with the methodical precision that had kept him alive during his police career. The first device, at the Chen house, was the most sophisticated. Timer activated, set to detonate at 3 p.m., right when kids would be coming home from school. Professional construction, military-grade explosives. Lieutenant Sarah Morrison, the bomb squad commander, found Jean sitting on his mail truck, sweating despite the cool October air. You're Patterson? Yes, ma'am. Dispatcher says you're former Seattle PD bomb squad. 1985 to 1995. Sergeant. Lieutenant Morrison studied him carefully. You've been out of the game for 30 years. What made you think you could handle this? Jean looked down the street at the families gathered at the community center, safe and alive, because nobody else was here to do it. The devices were successfully defused by the Columbus team, but it was Jean's initial assessment and evacuation that had prevented casualties. 4 bombs, each containing enough explosive material to destroy a house and kill anyone inside. The FBI took over the investigation. Special Agent Rodriguez interviewed Jean at length. Mr. Patterson, your actions today saved at least a dozen lives. Why didn't you tell anyone you were former bomb squad? Because I didn't want to be former bomb squad anymore. I wanted to be a mailman. But your expertise. My expertise was supposed to be retired. I came to Millfield to deliver mail and live quietly. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. The suspect we've arrested had your name on a list. This wasn't random. Someone was targeting you specifically, using your mail route to get close to you. Gene felt the world shift slightly. What do you mean? Marcus Webb. Ring a bell. You arrested him in Seattle in 1994. Pipe bomb in a shopping mall. He got out of prison 6 months ago. The name hit Gene like a physical blow. Marcus Webb. The angry young man who'd screamed threats at him during his trial. Who'd sworn he'd get revenge someday. He's been planning this for 30 years. Agent Rodriguez continued. Tracked you down, learned your route, decided to hurt innocent people to get back at you. Word spread quickly through Millfield. The quiet mailman who'd saved the neighborhood wasn't just a postal worker. He was a hero with a secret past. Mrs. Henderson approached Gene the next day as he resumed his route. Gene, dear, I wanted to thank you properly. No need, Mrs. H, just doing my job. Your job is delivering mail. What you did yesterday was something else entirely. Bill Kowalski was more direct. Gene, I've been a cop for 30 years. I know what good police work looks like. What you did yesterday was exceptional. The Chen family invited Gene for dinner. As he sat at their kitchen table, David Chen asked the question everyone wanted answered. Why didn't you ever tell us about your background? Gene set down his coffee cup carefully. Because I didn't want my past to follow me here. I wanted to be just Gene the mailman. Turns out the past doesn't always stay buried. The Postal Service offered Gene early retirement with full benefits. The FBI offered him a consulting position. The local police department offered him a job as a bomb disposal expert. Gene declined them all. I'm going to keep delivering mail, he told Janet at the post office. Gene, after what happened, no one would blame you for wanting a change. This is my home now. These are my people. I'm not letting one angry man chase me away from the life I've built. But what if there are others? What if someone else comes looking for you? Gene adjusted his mail bag and headed for the door. Then they'll find out that some skills never really retire. The following Monday, Gene was back on his route. Same time, same truck, same gentle knock on doors. But something had changed in the way people looked at him. Children who used to barely notice him now waved enthusiastically. Parents who'd exchanged polite small talk now stopped for real conversations. The community had embraced him not as the quiet mailman, but as their protector. Mrs. Henderson left homemade cookies in her mailbox with a note, for our hero. The Martinez children drew pictures of Gene in his mail uniform with a cape, which their mother proudly taped to the mailbox. Gene found himself stopping longer at each house, accepting the gratitude he'd never sought, but somehow needed. Months passed. The media attention faded. Marcus Webb was convicted and returned to prison for life. But Gene's relationship with Oak Street had changed permanently. Gene. Mrs. Henderson called out one morning, "There's a package here that doesn't look right." She was holding a small box, examining it with the careful attention Gene had taught the neighborhood to apply to suspicious mail. "What makes you think it's wrong, Mrs. H?" "Well, it's too heavy for its size. There's no return address, and—" "Is that ticking?" Gene smiled. It was the sound of her new alarm clock shipped from her daughter in California. But Mrs. Henderson had learned to be cautious, and that was good. "Let me take a look," Gene said, even though he already knew it was harmless. Because that's what neighbors do for each other. They watch out, they ask questions, they stay alert. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, your mailman used to defuse bombs for a living. Eugene Patterson still walks the same route every morning, still starts at 8 a.m., still visits every house, still knows every family. But now everyone knows who he really is. Not just a mailman, but a guardian who chose to serve his community in the most humble way possible. The packages still come, the mail still gets delivered, and life in Millfield goes on peacefully. But there's a comfort now in knowing that the man who brings the mail once spent a decade making sure other packages didn't explode. Some heroes wear badges, others wear postal uniforms and carry mail bags. And sometimes, when the situation calls for it, they save entire neighborhoods with skills they hoped they'd never have to use again. In a small Ohio town, it was once again proven that you never know who's walking among you. The mailman you barely notice might be the person standing between you and disaster. The quiet neighbor who just wants to deliver mail might be the most qualified person in town to save your life. Real heroes don't advertise their abilities. They just show up, do their job, and hope for a quiet life. But when called upon, they remember who they used to be and do what needs to be done. If this story meant something to you, share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe stories like this should continue to be told, support Echo Stories by subscribing. See you in the next video. And remember, that quiet mailman walking past your house might have a very interesting past. Everyone has a story, and some stories save lives.